Once upon a time,
in the faraway land of Yakima, a young boy lived.
I remember the first time I met Jared on the day he was born. I walked into the operating room. He had his mouth wide open, just wailing, and he's been singing ever since.
Yeah, not a quiet moment when Jared's around.
Lots of laughter.
Yes, yes. And he sings at the top of his lungs.
Yep.
as the young lad grew, he became interested in activities such as soccer, math, and reading.
Jared's always been involved in ministry with us as a family. We were worship pastors for many years, and so Jared kind of came up through the ranks and did solos in choir and was on a worship team for the youth ministry as well as for the church.
When others were weak, this young man encouraged them, for he had a heart to serve and a heart to worship.
And I feel like Jared's always been kind of a natural born leader and very accepting of people. He has always been one that just kind of takes in those that maybe just need a friend, and really has a good listening ear and can see that God has used him in lots of lives, and just being the supportive friend.
I remember when Jared was in high school, he was a grow group leader for the youth ministry, and the youth pastor placed all the people with him that were sort of special needs folks, the people that maybe no one else wanted to be with, and Jared loved those guys and rallied them and kept them going.
Even to this day, it seems like he just strikes up conversations in coffee places with people, and just really has that acceptance for people, and I think that people just are gravitating towards that. So it's neat to see how God uses them that way.
When Jared came back from Las Vegas, the thing that he said is, "I want to come and help you, Mom and Dad, at your church." It's our first time to be lead pastors, and Jared has just jumped in with both feet. He leads our worship ministry among our students, and then is a key Sunday morning worship leader in our main services.
And we can see how God really developed his gifts, especially when he was in Vegas, just to be away from Mom and Dad and away from his brother, and just find out who he was, and then to realize that God really had a big call on his life, and anoints him in worship, and he just really has a faith that is just big. He believes that God can do great things, and he just shares that with those around him.
I love it when Jared leads prayer, like for before service when we're praying. He just has I think a special gift at leading people in prayer. He just inspires people when he prays.
But Jared's path was soon to take a turn. Meanwhile, in the faraway land of Pitești, Romania, a young mother was making a very difficult decision for her newborn baby daughter.
We had been there for a couple of weeks and were getting kind of despairing when, lo and behold, things changed, and we met a man that was able to lead us to you, and you were the one that the Lord had picked out.
So we were told about a little girl who was in a hospital in a little town called Pitești. She was originally meant to be adopted by a family in Italy, but they later changed their mind because they found a little boy that they just absolutely loved. There was also a family from Canada who wanted to adopt her, and myself. Because I was from America, her birth mother chose us. And I'll never ever forget the day that she and I stood together, both of us holding Allie, and crying together, and she chose me to be her daughter's mother.
Where would I be if not for your grace? Carrying me.
First time I ever saw Allie, she was sound asleep in a little hospital room, and Steve's mom held her and walked over and put her in my arms, and I looked down at this little sleeping baby in my arms, this little bald baby with strings in her ears because they were pierced but they couldn't afford earrings. And all of a sudden she opened her eyes and looked right at me and smiled, this big sweet smile. And then she closed her eyes and made this little wiggle move like she was snuggling into my arms and went right back to sleep. And I just knew in that moment that this was my daughter.
I'll never forget meeting Cindy and Mom at the airport in Portland. They had been gone for a month, wondering what it was going to be like, having that little girl in our family, wondering if I could love her as much as I did David. But as soon as I held her in my arms, that was never a thought again. It's pretty amazing. It's really the way God loves us, His unconditional love.
As Allie grew, she loved to sing, play, and be in the center of everything.
In me, in you, orphans, kingdoms, wide eyes and paper crowds. Time will hold us, time erode us. We're inkling children now. We are wandering where the wild wind blows. We are happy here, 'cause the wild.
But then, one spring day in a fine, crowded Seattle coffee shop where all good relationships start, destiny was initiated.
In me, in you, things explore us.